What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So it's actually been a minute since I've talked about any Sony product. I don't even think I've talked about like any PlayStations or PSPs in so long, and I figured I might as well talk about some PlayStation product. And I've actually had the PlayStation Vita for like so long now, and believe it or not, I've owned all PSPs. I own all the PSPs, even the PSP Street, the PSP Go, all of them, but I've only reviewed like two, the PSP Go and the PSP 1000. I'll probably end up doing the Street, but I wanted to talk about the PlayStation Vita today and kind of how it holds up in 2019. Now, we're in a weird situation because there's really not too much craziness going around with it. Like, people aren't really talking about it or anything. So it's kind of like a random thing to talk about nowadays, but I still have so much love for the whole entire PlayStation line, and kind of just looking at the history of it, the PlayStation Vita was the successor to the PlayStation Portable and also the PlayStation Go, that console as well. And this thing actually came out in 2012, which was 7 years ago. This thing is 7 years old now, and body-wise, it is similar to PSP. I think all of you guys have seen some sort of variation of this type of console. The main difference is that you do have two joysticks on the front, and surprisingly, when I saw reviews of this thing, especially when it was coming out, I think I saw a GameStop review a long time ago, like online, and I don't even think it was a video, I think it was like a written review. They were pretty much raving about how like the build quality wasn't that bad on it, and you know what, I'm still kind of saying it. This thing was released in 2012, I guess it wasn't horrible, but nowadays, if this thing was released, dude, if there were even like headphones that were released that were this quality, I think people would be kind of upset. Obviously that's kind of a joke, but no, this thing doesn't feel extremely premium. There's definitely a lot of plastic around this thing, but you do have to remember that this thing did come out in 2012, and on the front we have a 5-inch screen. Some variants had an OLED display. I think the older ones had an OLED display. The newer ones had an LCD panel. I don't know why they did that. Maybe it was some cost saving thing, but on my specific unit, I believe I do have an OLED display, which is really cool. Now, one of the pettiest things they did when they actually made the PlayStation Vita was that they changed the native SD card, so it wasn't like a micro SD or the memory stick duo that the PSPs or PSP Go's used. They changed it to a whole different memory card, which is so annoying, and they also changed the charger port as well. So if you had the original PSP or any PSPs, you had to go get your own chargers and SD cards to make it compatible with this, which is so annoying. Nintendo didn't even do that for their whole DS line except for their original Nintendo DS to the DS Lite, but whatever, I guess I don't think they're gonna change it now. Now, it did have a front camera and a back camera, and nowadays, I mean, in 2019, that's like everything has front and back cameras, bro. Like, even like glasses have front and back cameras now, and like cameras have front and back cameras now. It's like crazy stuff, and this thing was at least future-proof in that sense. And one of the coolest things, but also one of the corniest things this thing had was the touch panel on the back. So in some games, not all were compatible. Well, all were compatible, not everyone used it, but some games you could rub the back of it and kind of like change the direction of something and change whatever. So that was really cool. I really liked that. And I just realized it sounds like I'm hating on the PlayStation Vita. I am not. I love the PlayStation Vita a lot. There were just some really funny things that Sony did that kind of, made a lot of people upset. And the main thing they did was that they removed the UMD slot, which makes a lot of sense. I guess I'm not too petty about it, but for all those people who had the original PlayStation Portable games, they had like Midnight Club, Dub Edition, whatever those the games were in DAX or whatever, they could not get those on the PlayStation Vita unless they downloaded them from the PlayStation Marketplace, which was kind of, a weird thing as well. I feel like they could have done a better job at doing that. Maybe even keeping a UMD slot on there, but I don't know, that was kind of a weird thing too. Now, cool thing about the PlayStation Vita was that it did have remote play, so you can go connect it to a PlayStation 4 and be able to stream your game from your PlayStation 4 to the PlayStation Vita, and so you can kind of play it wirelessly, but not quite because you had to be in the same vicinity of it, but so it's kind of like a wireless controller in a way with the screen on it, kind of like a Wii U kind of thing. Now, looking at this thing in 2019, I think a humongous thing about this was the timing of it. When the PSP came out and even the Nintendo DS, those things came out at a time where mobile gaming really wasn't too crazy. We had portable consoles, but cell phones weren't really up to par, and tablets not even, they weren't even close enough to playing games that the DS Lite and the PSPs could play. But when this thing was released, in 2012, there were iPhones, there were Android devices with pretty large screens, some even up to 5 inches. What this thing was even bigger than that, and they were able to play games kind of up to the same quality as the PlayStation Vita. Not quite, because 2012, we're still talking like Temple Run and Fruit Ninja and things like that, but there were some pretty cool games. But right now in 2019, I mean, that's a whole different story. We have like gaming consoles that are just like tablets. We have like iPads and so many different devices that can allow us to play games mobily instead of picking up a whole different console. And we also have like streaming games, and all those different things. And I guess in 2012 even, I guess it made a little bit of sense, but as of right now, I think that's a humongous thing that Sony wasn't really looking at, when this thing was released. And I think that's a humongous reason why we haven't seen a successor to this, mostly because games are all on mobile devices. And why is somebody going to pick up a whole different console just to play games mobily if they can already play them on their phone? Even though they can't necessarily play PlayStation Vita games and 3DS games and Switch games, whatever, they still have the ability to play some sort of variant of that game or some way of still getting that feeling of playing some like huge graphically intensive game. And I'm still one of those people who like love the console feeling. Like I love playing on my DS Lite or 3DS or 3DS XL or whatever to get that feeling out, because the controllers, I don't want to tap on a screen, I want to tap on the actual controllers, but it's different per person. So ultimately, I love the PlayStation Vita. I think it had a lot of potential had it been released like a year or two before even, but mobile games pretty much dominated everything after, and they still dominate. And no one really needs this console really anymore. With the PlayStations and the Xbox Ones and everything, those still have a place. I think eventually even those might be taken over, but ultimately, dude, I like the PlayStation Vita. I think the game selection is really good. I think it had a lot of potential, and you are able to mod it, which is a whole different story. I could go make a whole separate video talking about that, but if you're willing to mod it, I would really, really, really recommend you to pick it up. Those things are awesome, but if you're going to keep it stock, I would probably recommend it. I do think it's a cool thing to own in 2019, but man, the choice is yours. If you have any questions or you have any experience with the PlayStation Vita, let me know in the comment section below. I would love to hear your take on it, your opinion on it, all that stuff. Hit that like button if you guys enjoyed the video, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also, check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel. All those links are linked down below. I'd really appreciate if you guys check it out. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys, and hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.